A little bit about why you and your colleagues were interested in looking at the things that these parents can do at home to support their kids' math and their language skills, specifically Hispanic populations.
One thing that we know about Hispanic populations is that they are less likely to read books at home. And we know that books are really important for children's language and literacy. So the idea was to look at, if they are not reading books, what other things are they doing at home to help their kids succeed in school. And parents are, regardless of their ethnicity, they're always committed to have their kids do well in school. So it was just a matter of looking outside the box, or thinking outside the box and thinking there has to be other things that they are doing at home, because some of these kids are actually doing pretty well in school. So that's where we got the idea about looking at family food routines, which is basically any kind of routine around food, which we all, as families, we all have to get fed. We all have to do the shopping. We all have to then later on clean up and stuff like that. So the idea is, what do parents do when they engage in these practices with their kids that are helping their kids succeed in school?
You looked at families in Chile. Can you give me some of the data, how many families, why this particular group, and what you found?
What we did is we worked with about 200 families in Chile. They were living in Santiago, which is a city, so it's an urban setting. And we asked these parents to pretend to go grocery shopping with their pre-K children. And we videotaped these interactions between parents and children. We didn't give them a specific instruction, like you have to be teaching your child. We just said, just play like you would normally go to the store with your child and do the things that you normally do. And so what we realized is that parents were actually engaging in supporting their child's literacy and math. And then the other thing that we did is that we assessed children's math, literacy, and reading, or literacy and writing and reading, at the beginning of pre-K and at the end of kindergarten, so almost 2 years later. And we wanted to see whether what parents did when children were in pre-K actually projected or had any influence 2 years later in children's academic skills.
What did you find?
What we found is that parents who supported children's math skills, so meaning parents who actually count with their kids, compare quantities with the kids, help the children add and subtract, had children who almost 2 years later, this means at the end of kindergarten, had better math skills. So in other words, those parents who support their kids' math skills had children who benefit, and those benefits were present even 2 years later, which is actually amazing. That's something that you do as a parent 2 years before, when kids are so young, actually had an impact on children's academic skills, in the long run, 2 years later. And so that's what we found in terms of math. In terms of literacy, what we found is that parents who took over, meaning parents who didn't allow their kids to write the grocery list or to read the grocery list because they were doing it for the kids. So in other words, parents who are giving too much help, had children who almost 2 years later were less advanced in their writing. So that makes a lot of sense. If you don't give your kids opportunities to practice their reading and writing when they're young, well, when they're older, they're gonna struggle more with writing and reading because they never had this opportunity. So the main message here is whatever you do when kids are young is gonna have a big impact on children's academic skills later on. And giving children opportunities to practice their math and their literacy at home actually pays off. They benefit from this, and they benefit from this in the long run. So 2 years later, it's a long time.
Do you have any recommendations for parents from these studies of activities they can do?
There are so many things that you can do at home to help your kids' math skills. And so what my findings suggest is that when you engage in everyday routines, like, cooking, like washing the dishes, like setting up the table, like folding the laundry, you can actually use these activities as opportunities for children to learn and to practice their skills. So let's say that you're folding the laundry. You can ask your child, okay, let's count how many socks there are, or how many red socks there are, and then how many blue socks there are. Are there more blue or more red socks, for example? You can also ask your children to sort and classify with the laundry. So, okay, we're gonna put all the blue socks here and all the red socks over here. Something else that you can do, you can help your child practice adding and subtracting. So let's say that we have 4 pairs of socks, red socks. If you wear one of these pairs today, how many pairs would you have left to wear during the week, and things like that. So there are very small things that you can do to make this fun. Obviously, we want to make this fun for children. And also it's an opportunity for us to help them practice this math now that they're home and they don't get to go to school and practice it in school.
You had also mentioned cooking earlier on. In what ways can kids learn some math as they're cooking?
When you are cooking, you can ask your child to help you, for example, bring the ingredients or help me mix the ingredients. And so let's say you can tell them, oh, well, I need 3 eggs. So can you bring 3 eggs? And so you're counting, you're asking your child, or the activity requests the child to actually count. You can also compare, okay, so do we have more rice or do we have more beans or things like that. So the same kind of activities, anything that has to do with counting, with comparing quantities, with sorting by shapes or by colors or any other criterion, or to add or subtract, right? So again, the same thing. So we have 4 apples. If you eat all 4 apples today, how many are you going to have tomorrow, or things like that? And so that's another way in which you can practice math while you're cooking.
And setting the table?
If you are setting up the table, the other thing that you can do is, for example, okay, so how many people are at home today? So we are 5. Okay, so how many plates do we need? Oh, we need 5 plates. Or how many forks and knives? Okay, so there are 5, but each of them needs 1 fork and 1 knife. So it's actually 10. So you can do a lot of this math and practice a lot of math just by asking simple questions that are related with the activity that you're doing, for example, setting the table.
You had also mentioned rhyming and ways that while you're still doing these chores, you can also focus on literacy and reading.
The same activities can be used to support language and literacy at home. So let's say again that you're folding your laundry. So one thing that you can do is you can work on rhyming. So let's say we're folding the sock. So, okay, sock, what rhymes with sock? Sock, rock. Oh, perfect. And things like that. Or pants, what rhymes with pants? Pants, ants. Or, so many words that you can use. You can rhyme. The other thing that is really, really important to support language and literacy at home, stories. So you can just ask your child, tell me a story. It can be a fantastical story, or it can be, tell me what you did today. So just recalling what you did during the day. So I was cooking, I didn't get to see what you were playing. Tell me what you were playing, or what you were talking with your sister, or things like that. So talking about the past, what happens, or talking about the future. What do you want to do tomorrow? What do you want to do this weekend? We're going to stay home. What kind of games, board games, can we play? Things like that. So talking about the past, talking about the future, or any other story, we know that narrative skills are strong predictors of literacy development. And then the last thing that you can do, particularly at these times, we are using a lot of new vocab. So words like pandemic, virus, quarantine, all these words that maybe children don't know the definition. So it's a great opportunity for us to sit and to talk with our children. What do we mean by these words, right? The more they can learn what they mean, the more they can use it also.
Why is it so important that parents start early and simply in supporting their kids with these skills?
It's really important for parents to start early because, well, there are two reasons. Number one, because it's a great opportunity to give your children a head start. And normally when kids get into preschool or kindergarten, teachers assume that kids already know a number of things or they have developed a number of skills. So when you start early, you make sure that your children are prepared for school, that when they go to school, they actually can benefit from all the learning opportunities that the teachers are going to provide to them. When they don't have all this knowledge and all these skills, just basic skills, and they come into the classroom, it's harder for them to learn and they struggle more. So that would be one reason why doing it early makes sense. But the other one is that children are always hungry to learn and to know. They ask so many questions. There's one study that shows that the number of why questions that children ask, especially when they're young, is like crazy. And so many adults, we just ignore them, but that actually shows how much they are eager and hungry to learn. So rather than, telling them, no, I don't have time, you can use it or capitalize on that and say, well, they actually want to learn, so let's teach them something. So they are motivated, and also it's beneficial for school. So there are two main reasons why it's really important to start early.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to make sure that people know?
One of the main take-home messages is that learning happens everywhere. Learning doesn't only happen in school. We tend to think children go to school to learn, but actually they're learning everywhere and anytime. So any activity or any routine that you do at home can be turned into a learning opportunity in a very simple way, just by making it fun and asking children, questions to get engaged. So that would be the main take-home message.